After the not-so-great reception of Final Fantasy XV VR experience, Square Enix decided to go back to the drawing board to craft a fully-fledged VR game from the ground up instead of just a tacked-on bit of DLC to accompany Final Fantasy XV. And that game has culminated into Monster of the Deep Final Fantasy XV. And what do I think about the 2 or so hours of gameplay on PSVR? Well, despite some promise, the game flounders around like a caught fish. The main story has you going to different locations in the Final Fantasy XV universe and catching fish, all while interacting with different characters like Noctis. After catching enough fish in an area, a boss fish appears which you then have to, and I'm not kidding here, shoot with explosive crossbow bolts until it's pacified and you can reel it in. In addition to that, there's a sort of mission mode where you hunt for specific fish in an area, as well as a free mode where you can fish at your leisure without having to worry about objectives or demon fish. Well, sounds awesome, right? Well, there are a couple of caveats to that. First of all, there's barely anything to fishing. You have to grab a sonar device on your chest and then activate it to highlight circles over the water where the fish are. You then have to cast your lure into the circles in order for a chance to catch any fish. You can't just catch anywhere or reel the lure into the circles. You have to cast it into the circles. That's fine, except for the fact that casting in VR is a pain. Either you do it too softly and the lure dives for the water in front of you, or you do it too hard and it overshoots your target. It also has a tendency to not fly in a straight path in front of you. Thankfully, you can instantly recall your lure with a push of a button instead of reeling it in. However, even if you manage to get the lure in the circle, it's a toss-up if you actually get a bite. Sometimes you don't get a bite for a long while, and sometimes you get a bite immediately after the lure hits the water. The only thing you have influence over whether or not you can catch a fish is when you're actually reeling them in. And even then, all you have to do is tilt the rod in the direction the game tells you to. Unlike games such as Sega Bass Fishing, where you can move around the lure and see fish peck at the hook under the water, you don't have that kind of control before a fish chomps on the hook. I guess it's more realistic in that you can't really do anything until a fish bites, but when you're shooting dynamic, teleporting, cloning fish with a crossbow, any argument for realism goes right out the window. While the crossbow sections can be pretty fun, it's just yet another VR shooting gallery to add to the pile. It really doesn't fit the relaxed mood the game is going for. The presentation is pretty nice, backgrounds are rich and detailed even if the textures are a bit pixelated. The interactions you have with characters is pretty cute, even if your yes-no responses to them make it feel like Dora the Explorer. One interesting thing that I noticed about looking at the graphics is that the area around your peripheral vision is especially pixelated, which means that the straight-ahead view has more priority when rendering. I can't say if this improves or not on the PS4 Pro, as I'm only playing on my standard PS4. I can see how Monster of the Deep, Final Fantasy XV can be a relaxing, chill game, aside from the crossbow shooting, and how that relaxing mood can be interspersed with moments of tension just like in any other great fishing game. But casting your rod and trying to get a bite is too frustrating to be relaxing, and reeling in fish really isn't exciting enough to drive tension. Overall, this looks to be yet another glorified tech demo for VR, and I honestly rather play the Big the Cat fishing sections in Sonic Adventure than this game.